Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks a lot for your time to come and listen to our presentation today. And also special hello to those who are connected online. I'm very happy to be presenting today our research. Me and Professor Narbaev and our colleague research assistant Meruyert Kussayn are working on the research project related to the scientometrics and the science policy development in Kazakhstan. So this is the part of our study. Today I'll talk about the scientific production and science policy in Kazakhstan. We did a survey and I will present you the results of the survey today. So let me go to the next slide. So we are looking specifically at the science sector of the Kazakhstan, what was happening in the last 20 years, last 30 years since Kazakhstan gained independence. And we're looking at the specific characteristics, problems, and opportunities that help or in some way kind of restrict the ways how research can be done in Kazakhstan. We are looking here at the descriptive statistics on scientific production. So we took the 5 years, starting from 2016 till 2020. And we also did the survey with the 117 representatives of the higher education institutions, universities. And we will present you the main findings in regards to these three categories of the current characteristics, the problems that the researchers face in Kazakhstan, and what opportunities we see, how they can publish more, publish better, and what kind of internal process should be in place in order to allow this development of the science in the country. And of course, given that the Kazakhstan is a developing country, the results would be quite useful for the similar countries like emerging countries. So as I already mentioned, we analyzed the publication pattern of Scopus database. So basically in Kazakhstan, since 2011, the big focus is given to the researchers to be published in the journals that are indexed in the Scopus database. This is why we took it as our major database. We still have Web of Science, but the less publishers, so they have the less papers from Kazakhstan in that database. So this is why we focused on the Scopus. And we conducted this survey among the university professors, researchers like those who are our colleagues. We tried to find the answer to the three questions. So the first one, what are the characteristics, problems, and opportunities for conducting research in Kazakhstan? So this is actually what our respondents told us from the survey. How government investment affect publication and research collaboration activities in Kazakhstan? So we're looking at the GDP levels, we're looking at the research collaboration activities of the scientists, looking at the countries with whom our colleagues are doing the research with, and what are the main opportunities for develop the science sector in Kazakhstan. So what we should do next? So what are the steps that we're going to take further in order to develop that scientific productivity of the country? So here you see our data collection. So we had 3 steps. So the first one, we collected the data. As I mentioned, we looked at the Scopus database for all of the articles published, and reviews published in journals, which are affiliated with the Kazakhstan. So we did the affiliated country search, focusing on Kazakhstan. All of the papers that we selected were in English. So all of the papers selected in English. But as you know, in the Scopus database, there are 27 subject areas. We removed the multidisciplinary because it belongs to several areas. So we focused on all of them except one multidisciplinary. So at the end, we had 14,452 records representing 26 subject areas. Next, we looked at the descriptive statistics and we looked at the GDP spent on research. So we got the data from the official statistics, Bureau Statistics of Kazakhstan. We analyzed the distribution by the number of articles, number of citation per collaborating countries, and identified the share of GDP spent on research and number of the researchers. So at the end, we got the results and we did the survey. So we conducted the survey with the representatives of the higher education. So here you see the results, statistical results, like the numbers, basically. We see that if you look like generally like across all of the subject areas, the major area that are quite productive and quite strong are the physics, the engineering, so basically natural sciences and engineering. The weakest one, like that has less publications, are social sciences, arts and humanities. So these are the areas that don't get a lot of publication in Kazakhstan. Next is the collaborating country statistics. So if you look across all of these subject areas, you can actually see that the major partners, like with whom our colleagues publish papers, Russia, US, UK, China, Germany. So this is actually kind of across all of the subject areas are similar results. So it means that we have some established networks, research networks with these countries. This is why this is reflected in the top collaborating countries, the results that are given to us across all of the subject areas. We then looked at the statistics, like we tried to kind of join all of these subject areas to the 6 areas such as natural science, engineering, technology, medical and health sciences, agriculture science, social science, and humanities. And this is again, it's actually taking the OECD classification. We looked at this and we identified, as you can see, like the medical and health sciences has the highest citation rate per article. Then next you see that it is engineering and technology, natural science are quite good. And then again, like agriculture, social science, and humanities has the lowest citation rate. It is like the quality of the publication, like the way how other authors are citing the researchers from Kazakhstan, the publishing from Kazakhstan, is quite represented here. Here we can see the slide that shows us the GDP on research. So because we are taking the time spent from 2016 to 2020, we see that kind of there is actually growth, but I mean not the drastic growth, but still growth starting from 50,000 million tenge up to like almost 70,000 million tenge. And like why we needed to see this information is basically because like one of the things that are on the agenda for the government is actually to increase the GDP spent, GDP share spent on research in Kazakhstan. And if you compare the numbers from other countries in the region, comparing to Russia, comparing to Belarus, even to some of the countries from other Soviet countries, still it's not the highest. In the region, it's not the highest. This is why like there is a need for to improve the percentage of the GDP spent on research. So now let's move to our survey details. So what are the results? So we looked at the 3 categories. So we talked about the current state, block 1 questions. We had 8 questions for this. Problems. So the researchers, we're asking them the question about the problems, and we had 6 questions, I believe, and the opportunities. So 4 questions, and we held this survey last year in May and July, and it was anonymous. We collected data, and then we revealed some of the results. So this is the general information about the profile of the respondents. So mostly we had female respondents, 72%. The average age was, I believe, 31, 40 years old. The research experience, actually more like than half of them have 10 more years of the experience. So these people who've been in the science for years and they know actually what's happening. And so kind of it showed us that we can really see the progress in the last 10 years from their personal experience. We looked as well at the experience in participating in the projects related to the research projects that are funded by the Ministry of Education of Science in Kazakhstan, but also funded from the outside, international projects, and majority of them don't have experience with the international research projects. And we looked at their Scopus publication. So for them, like majority of them had already Scopus publication. So you can see that these are the questions. Kabul yet, right? Okay, so we see that these are what is the current state. So like overall, we see that the current state of the conducting research in Kazakhstan, like the level of the research funding, the support that they get from the government to enhance their publication activity with the foreign researchers is actually considered as average. So majority of them identified it as an average result. that kind of shows that like for some of the respondents, even is below that, below than average. So what are the major problems? So we allowed our respondents to answer a few questions. I mean, choose the answer for the few options, and majority of them identified that the preparatory stage of the research grant application process, that's the problem that associated with that is the bureaucracy, the lower level of the funding, as well as the lack of staff in the project team. And we can see that later on that this is how they observe it from their side, from the university side and from the government side, like what both sides can do in order to help this. We also looked at the issues related to the execution and the language barrier becoming a problem for them. We looked at the problems associated with the publishing papers in local journals. So the publication queue, like a lot of people who want to publish, actually quite similar to the publication international journals, but also in terms of the review, our respondents made a specific comment on that. And what are the measures that can help and solve all of the issues that we mentioned? So first of all is the availability of the information about the journals. So basically like informing people. Next one is the free access to the databases and like needed training. What will help boost the quality of research? Like majority of them said that it's about increasing the funding, but at the same time, it's about training and also collaboration with the foreign scientists. And what are the measures that help develop the research publication activity in Kazakhstan? It's kind of increase in funding as well, and also foreign internship for the Kazakhstani researchers. So this is kind of the results that we have. And of course, looking at all of these three current state problems and opportunities, we can see how internally, like this problem is not just purely on the side of the researcher, not purely on the side of the government, but also in terms of the university themselves. So how they can allow scientists to help them publish more. So what are the major conclusions that we have in our study? So the government itself, as I was telling in the beginning, was giving a lot of the attention to the pushing the researchers to publish in the Scopus database. So we have like national subscription to the Scopus, so something that again allows the researchers to get access to information, but we can see that this is not enough. So there are other databases that are needed for our researchers to be more active. We see that the GDP spendings on the science have increased, but also we also mentioned, and the results show that our scientists see that the collaboration with the countries, like it's not enough to collaborate like with current existing countries, not to support and develop the research. So it's another issue that should be addressed. And survey revealed the problems associated with research activity on university level. So meaning that how in place, like in the workplaces, researchers should be supported. What are incentives for that? Like how would university give the incentive to the researchers to publish more, to publish in good quality journals, to have this network of research collaborations? And we can say that our results are quite consistent in a way that we see that there is a growth of the publication, there is a good quality research exists in the country, but like the scale of that research, the number of the people who are working and contributing with their research in the scientific sector is still not that high. And we will continue our study further. And if you have any question at the current stage of the result that we have, I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much for attention.